Good afternoon. I am here with Marge Vogt, candidate for the Olathe City Council Ward 4 position, also currently serving in that position. On behalf of the Olathe Chamber, thank you for being here today, Marge.
Well,
I
thank you,
want to get,
Netta.
I want to get started. Can you tell me just a little bit about yourself and why you are seeking this office again?
So, Natalie, back in probably 94, my husband and I moved to Olathe knowing that that was going to be his last assignment in Leavenworth. And we could have chosen anywhere to live, but we knew that the schools were terrific in Olathe. And so we intentionally came to Olathe and had two sons who went to school, Santa Fe Trail, Meadow Lane, Olathe North, um, and are glad. And this is really our forever home.
Marge, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And thank you to you and your husband for your service to our country. Also appreciate that. Can you tell us maybe what your top three priorities would be going into the next year? What, if reelected, what your top three priorities would be while you're in office?
You bet. So, what led me, and I should probably put a little preface to this, to proceed with running again for this office position, is that there are quite a few projects that are ongoing, or I want to make sure that they occur, that they do come to fruition. And those projects really mirror what our citizens in Olathe and in Ward 4 are asking of the City Council. So their priorities, of course, are my priorities. They're my boss. So the top priorities for our citizens happens to be public safety, police and fire. And it's interesting that that is still their top priority when we have one of the safest communities in Olathe. But I believe that they respect that and want to see that continued. The next area that citizens see as very important has to do with transportation. Many know that because we are this ever-growing community, that there are increasing needs, such as transportation. We got to be able to all get around in our cars, but more than that, we want to make it walkable. We want to be able to accommodate cyclists. We want to be able to accommodate people of all ages, the families that are teaching their kids to ride a bicycle, to our elderly that just want a safe place to walk. So transportation is important. It's about maintaining what we have, the miles of roads that we have, and also expanding our transportation system. And as I already said, it's more than just moving cars, though that is a big concern. So when you look at top priorities, right now, I want to make sure that that 119th interchange, it's a painful thing right now with it being closed, but I will tell you, I have not received one complaint. Why? Because we are doing what needs to be done to expand that interchange, to increase the flow of traffic, to be able to move people across town. But there's some other areas related to transportation that I think are very important. And we have only started in terms of concept. And that's the other interchange at I-35 in Santa Fe. And more specifically, looking at that corridor between Ridgeview and Merlin. So not only do we want to improve that interchange, but we really want to go in, revitalize that whole area. We want to move traffic, but we also want to help businesses in that area to attract more people and to continue to strive. So that is another transportation project that's important. Another one, especially to Northwood Trails, they're concerned about the improvement of Woodland Road to 119th Street. They want to make sure that it doesn't interfere with their quality of life. And people that use the trail system. They want to make sure that they're once again going to have that green space and not feel like they're in the middle of a city. So those are some, I guess, downtown library. I can go on and on. Natalie, there's a lot of needs. We really need to, we promised the people we would put that library downtown, and the focus of that library will be different. And then finally, housing. We've got to work with developers. We need to have more diversified housing. Everyone doesn't need 4,000 square feet. Not everyone has a large family. We want to keep our aging couples and aging single people in the area. They don't need that. And some of our younger folks, they're maybe not looking for single family, or maybe they're looking for a townhouse. So Johnson County did a housing study. We really haven't done too much as a county with it yet, but I think it is critical because of the cost of housing, and we do want to keep people in our community.
Marge, that's great priorities. I want to talk about your views on the tax dollars, that the benefit that taxpayers get for their tax dollars and how they're spent. And what changes, if any, would you propose to the city budget?
Well, as you know, we're currently working on that budget, and it does reflect what the citizens want. And that, again, is public safety and transportation. So that 69% of the general fund will go towards public safety, police and fire. We're going to be adding staff to police and fire. And then, of course, our transportation priorities, maintenance, as well as expansion of our transportation system. In terms of the value that our citizens get, and I know Natalie and the rest of the chamber members are very familiar with Direction Finders, which is a quarterly survey that is done at the request of the council to the citizens, which tells us on a quarterly basis what the concerns are, and are we on track to what the citizens expect for their tax dollars. And the most recent summary from 2021 says that 73% of our citizens feel that they have good value for their tax dollars. So that makes us feel good, but we're not going to rest on our laurels. We know that taxes and fees continue to increase, often because of inflation, often because we have to provide the infrastructure for the growth. But we shouldn't just use that as an excuse. We need to continue to look in our budget to see what we can do so that the tax burden on our residents and our businesses don't begin to force people to go to other communities, because Olathe is a great community.
Well, that's a great introduction to the growth that Olathe has experienced. The last 20 years has outpaced other Johnson County cities.
Yes.
How would you help continue that high quality of growth in Olathe? And what role, if any, do you believe that the city should play in that economic development routine of bringing jobs and capital investment to Olathe?
Well, that's the important part of a growing city, is the economic development. Very, very important. And of course, as you're aware, we have a very close relationship with the chamber. We use our guest tax to help support the Economic Advisory Council, our, help me out, this is going to be one that, the Convention and Visitors Bureau. So our Economic Development Advisory Council, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, we have for many years, well, the whole time I've been on the council, have relied on that partnership to continue to bring in businesses, but not just any businesses that are going to provide goods and services that our citizens need, but importantly, the jobs that we need, and also a tax base. So if we have more businesses that help share that tax base, then we know that our residents don't have to carry that burden. So together, we have to work on retention of the good businesses we have, and then, of course, recruiting additional businesses. And there's an area that, and I will go and touch upon it, even though I know it can be very sensitive, and that is when cities provide incentives to businesses. And it is pretty typical in all communities because communities recognize when a business comes to our community, they're taking a risk. And so, depending on the analysis of what they can bring to our community and the types of jobs that they bring, we often feel, yes, we're willing to partner a little bit with that risk that they're taking. But again, a very thorough analysis has to be done so that we know the benefits for our taxpayers are going to be there not only now, but in the future. And it may be in the form of taxes as well as good paying jobs. So that partnership that we have, and I believe this year in the proposed 2022 budget, the Chamber to help support economic development and the Convention and Visitors Bureau will be receiving $1.3 million to work, to recruit, to maintain economic development, and to bring in those visitors to our soccer parks and our softball parks for recreation.
Yeah, visitors are important to our community. You're right. We need to get people back. So, okay, well, let's talk about what do you see as the three greatest opportunities or challenges that face the Olathe economy in the next 10 years, and how would you capitalize on those?
Well, I think the fact that we are seen as one of the best cities in which to live, work, play, and looking at all generations, that helps to bring businesses and, of course, other residents to our community. And when that happens, the challenges are continuing to provide the excellence that we currently provide in city services and to be able to fund that without burdening the taxpayer, both the residents as well as businesses. So the good news is that, yes, we're doing a great job, I think. At least that's what Direction Finders is saying. And I have to use that for some kind of basis in which to continue to move forward. But when that does bring in this growth, then we have to expand. And we talked about the services to include public safety, as well as our roads and transportations, our schools, etc. So in order to meet those needs, we've got to have funding. And to me, having a stable funding source, and that may be a combination of sales tax as well as our property tax, but trying to get that, what we've always been trying to do, we want to get business to at least contribute at least 30% to help that move forward. So we're going to need to be innovative. We're going to have to be nimble. We're going to have to be flexible. We have to be visionary. We have to watch the technology that is ever evolving and how that can make us even more efficient. So the challenges, I guess, is to just stay on top of things, to be visionary, and to provide our excellent staff in Olathe the resources they need to continue to provide excellence in public service to our community.
Well, Marge, I have one last question for you.
Sure.
What most distinguishes you from your opponent in this race?
Well, first, I want to say that I'm glad that my opponent has chosen to run for office. I think it is important to be involved in your community, and that makes me better at my job. Your competition is always good, no matter what. But I do think there are some differences. I think one that is quite obvious is experience, an understanding of the history of where we've been, but more importantly, being visionary for the future and my motto has always been forging the future with vision. So it's the easy part of being on a board or a council is taking care of the day-to-day kinds of things. The hard part is the visioning, to be able to try and see what the future holds, and then being innovative, being flexible, being nimble, to be able to make those commitments to different projects, funding the projects that will help to support the future of our community, that will continue to bring people and business to Olathe. So I think probably that distinguishes me the most. I would say that when my husband and my family came to Olathe, we specifically chose Olathe. We said, this is a good place to be. And, Olathe, even though we're growing and we're almost at 150,000, when I came on the council, I think we're about 95,000. So you can see the growth that we have had to accommodate through the years. But we knew then that, yes, this is where we did want to settle down. Good schools and a great community. And that community is made up of people who care. And I think that's so important. Even though we're big, we still have that small town feel of people that want to help others, are respectful of others, and do want to be a part of the community. Those would be the kind of distinguishing features that I may have, or characteristics that I have, that I hope to portray to our voters.
Well, Marge, on behalf of the Olathe Chamber, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing a little bit about your campaign. We wish you the best of luck in the election.
Thanks, Natalie. Have a good day.